You only have to convince yourself, you know. You only have to convince yourself that it's possible. You don't have to convince that person and this person and those people over there. That's not what you're up against. What you're up against is your own self, your own self-belief. You're either convicted or you're not. And what I mean by that is you either believe you're going to do it or you're not. You believe you're going to make it or you're not. You don't have to convince these people. Once you buy into it and start living that way, then it doesn't matter what these people say. It doesn't matter who gets it or who don't. Because the moment you buy into it, it becomes your life. It becomes your way of life. You got to be sold on the dream day in and day out. Like, you have to be sold on it so much that you don't even think about it. You just live it. You just live it. And you force reality to move out of your way just because you're living it. It has to become your new normal. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because so many people they'll give up on their dream. They'll give up on their vision. They'll start something and then they just quit. They're done. And I'm here to tell you that the number one thing that has to happen before you end up becoming successful is you got to believe in it. Because the moment you believe in your vision is the moment you become successful. It has to become your new normal. And sometimes when you're going from where you are right now to where you want to be, there's going to be a little pain or a lot of pain depending on your circumstances involved. But you can use that pain, and what I say by pain, I mean discomfort, okay? Discomfort. I mean using that discomfort as a launching pad that propels you towards your vision. I was downtown Atlanta a few days ago, and a young man asked me to be a guest on his podcast as I'm walking down the Beltline in Atlanta. And the first question he asked me is, what does growing pains mean to you? Growing pains. And, I had to think on the spot, but it was very easy because as soon as he said it, I thought about the gym and how in the gym, a certain type of pain is a really good thing. Because a certain type of pain when you're working out in the gym is evidence that you're growing. Okay, you're stretching your muscles beyond their current comfort zone. And it is the stretching of the muscles that allows us to get bigger. And sometimes that means we're going to be sore. Sometimes when I work out, I'm sore the next day. I've stretched my muscles. I'm supposed to be sore. Okay? But I thought about how so many people see pain as an indicator that something outside of them is punishing them. And I know this because I hear people talk about it. I see people talk about it on social media. And I used to have that same mindset. I used to think that life was punishing me. But life is not punishing me. I think pain is evidence that life is pushing you beyond your current comfort zone. Let's just imagine that I became comfortable living in the hood. If I became comfortable living in the hood my whole life, okay, I'd never be the man that I am today, and I'd never live where I'm living today, because the comfort would have kept me there. But the pain of living in the hood is what I used as an excuse to propel me forward, because I knew that I didn't want to live like that for the rest of my life. So that was a pain that inspired me. See, you can use pain for inspiration. And that is the key, to use it for inspiration, rather than believing that the pain is evidence that you have hit your final destination. And so when you look at it, when you make up your mind that you are going to stick with it no matter what, and then you are met with pain, because you've already made up your mind that you're never going to quit, you're going to make it no matter what, you see the pain as evidence that you're being stretched beyond your comfort zone. See, right now, I'm being stretched beyond my comfort zone. Okay? Sometimes we say we want a thing, right? Let's just say you want a better life. Let's just say you want a better life. And you really, really, really want to live a better life. And then all of a sudden, when you ask for that, all of a sudden your current reality starts to fall apart in many ways. Okay? Your current reality starts to fall apart in many ways. And if you're not wise enough, you'll think that your current reality falling apart is evidence that you're doing something wrong. But it's not. When your current reality falls apart, that is evidence that you're about to build a new reality, a new normal. Look at it like a house. If you hire someone to remodel your house, they show up and they start tearing down things after you hired them, that is not evidence that they're doing something wrong. That's evidence that you're getting what you asked for. So why don't we think about that when it comes to our life? I hear so many times people say, I asked for a new job and my current job fired me. I can't believe it. And I say, did you like the job? Because I could have swore that was the same job you was complaining about a few days ago, and a few weeks ago, and a few months ago, and a few years ago. Well, I mean, I didn't love it, but it wasn't, I wasn't ready to be let go. Well, no, you asked for something better, and so the universe took you away from what you currently have. First of all, because we don't appreciate what we currently have, right? And the reason why we don't appreciate it is because we feel like we deserve something better. The key is to appreciate it even when you believe you deserve something better. How can I not demonize this thing that I'm letting go of, even though I believe that I deserve something better than what I'm letting go of? And then when that reality starts to fall apart, I'm not surprised. Now I know that I hired the universe. When I asked for something more, that is equivalent to me hiring the universe to remodel my current home or my current reality. So how am I going to become fearful when I see things changing? Okay? When you ask for something bigger, you're going to be put in a position to where you have to get bigger. Everybody had to go through, that's what they call growing pains, okay? It's uncomfortable, okay? But the reason why you asked for it is because even where you were became uncomfortable to you, which caused you to ask for something more, okay? But when your world is falling apart, that's evidence that you're building something new. Now, you got to be mindful of what you're building, okay? So if you start to freak out and panic and go into depression when you see things falling apart, then in that moment, you are in the process of building a reality that you really don't want. But if, on the other hand, if you get excited about your world falling apart after you ask for something better, if you get excited about it, if you're grateful for your world falling apart, if you start praising the fact that your world is falling apart, then all of a sudden, you are in that moment building a reality that you're going to be very, very happy with, even if you can't see all the details. I promise you that. Because I've gone through many seasons of conscious change. I am a master of conscious change. I know that when I ask for something bigger, something better, that my current reality is going to be disrupted in some kind of way. But I always praise it. I never complain. I never complain. I never doubt. I always have faith. You got to get psychotic about this thing. When you see the walls crumbling down, you got to get psychotic and be like, oh my God, this is exciting. The walls are crumbling down. Woo! That's when you get excited. Because that's evidence that we're moving beyond our comfort zone. Think about a zone. A zone is a boundary or a reality that you operate in. And if you're comfortable inside of that boundary, inside of that reality, then the walls that make up that zone are going to stay where they are. I mean, they'll end up changing anyway, but the progress will be very, very, very slow because it's not comfort is very low frequency. Just, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a time for comfort. There's also a time for discomfort. But you got to know that in order to go beyond my current comfort zone, okay, I got to knock down these damn walls. I gotta do some reconstruction. I gotta redesign and redefine, okay? Once you understand that, I promise you, you'll start looking at everything that happens as an excuse to be grateful for the world that you have unfolding right before your eyes. You'll start to be grateful for it. I promise you this. I promise you this. You will literally start to be grateful for everything. What looks like something bad, what looks like something good. And this is what I know. This is when you're exercising your faith. Faith is not just me believing and being grateful when things look like my current comfort zone. Faith is also me praising the fact that after I ask for something and my world starts crumbling down, it's also me praising the walls crumbling down as well. That's when your faith is really tested. See, this world is an illusion anyway. This world, I repeat, this world is an illusion anyway, made up by your brain, made up by your mind. So knowing that the world is an illusion anyway, you are then reminded that in order to find your peace, and I'll elaborate on this, but in order to find your peace, you got to go within. In order to find your wealth, you got to go within. You got to work on yourself. You got to work on imagining the reality you want to live in and become that from the inside out. Become the version of yourself that would be living that reality. Change yourself. Get really, really, really good at envisioning. Get really, really good at envisioning. Get really, really, really good at envisioning the world you want to live in. And your internal world will become the world that you want to live in. And because you have transformed your internal world, your external world has no choice but to follow suit. But this world, you got to understand this. Think about this now. I really want you to grasp this. This physical world is the world of old news. If you can really grasp that, man, everything will shift for you. This car has already been created. Those buildings have already been created. The shirt has already been created. This is old news. Even a new car is old news. By the time you get it, it's old news because it was new news when it was in the mind of the person that created it. So that tells me that the internal world is the real world. That's the world where we're pulling all of this stuff from. We're living an inside out world. Think about that. This stuff didn't grow out of the ground. Those buildings didn't just build themselves out of the ground. Somebody had an idea in their mind and then they went to work. This is old news. And so being that this is old news, we can't allow what shows up in our physical reality to disturb us because it's old news anyway. It had to be created in the mind first. So if you allow what happens in the external world to disturb you, it means you're punishing yourself twice because it means that you've already tortured yourself internally before the external version of that thing shows up. This is why we got to get really, really good at filling our minds, filling our imagination with images that represent the reality we want to live in. We got to get really, really good at that. Really good at it. Because once you get really, really good at filling your mind with the reality, images of the reality you want to live in, then you're going to get really, really good at what shows up in the world of old news, which is the knock on wood 3D world. This is the old world. This ain't the new world. This is the old world. So, again, when you ask for something new, your current reality is going to start changing. A lot of times it means the world is going to start falling apart. And falling apart doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that something is going to be removed and something is going to replace that thing that was removed. That's all it means. But if you're too attached to the thing, so most people are too attached to the reality they don't want. You know, they don't want a reality, but they're attached to it. Because even when that reality that they don't want goes away, they cry like a baby. Yeah, I miss my job. I wanted my job. You didn't want the job. You didn't love that job. You were just used to it. You wasn't in love in that relationship. You were just used to it. So you're fighting for a reality. You're fighting to keep a reality that you don't enjoy anyway. Because we're attached. We're too attached to the world of old news. But all of this is old news. And we have to remind ourselves that on a daily basis that it's just the world of old news. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. Doesn't mean that I can't have nice things. Doesn't mean that I can't be happy with it. Doesn't mean that I can't make money. Doesn't mean that I can't travel. Doesn't mean any of that. It's old news. So you got to see yourself in your mind living the way you want to live. Get really good at that, because that's the real world. People won't tell you this, but your mind is the real world. Your mind is the real world. Repeat it after me. Your mind is the real world. Speaking of the real world, go to mindmastersociety.com. I have a mastermind. Be a part of it. You get all my calls. You get to get on weekly calls with me. You get all my courses for free inside the mastermind. Not for free, it's a membership, but you get access to everything unlimited. Okay, you can even book calls with me in there. Go to mindmastersociety.com. But this is the world of old news. The real world is your internal world. That's the real world. But why do we treat the real world like it's the fake world? We treat, on one hand, we treat it like it's that's just your imagination. But if you worry about something, you'll consider that to be real. See, you've been duped. The people that control the world, and I don't mean to get down the rabbit hole of conspiracy, but I mean, the truth is the truth. There's a group of people that control the world, and they control it through things that you use on a consistent basis. Okay? It's the flow of information, the news that you get every single day. That's how they control the world. They control the world by putting certain ideas in your mind. You don't have to show up and physically enslave a person. You could do it through information. You don't have to show up and physically scare a person. You can do that through information. You can also control people through food, because all of that's affecting your mind as well. So information, food, okay? All of that's controlling your mind on a consistent basis. So when you get really, really clear about that and ask yourself, why are they invested in controlling my mind? Well, because your mind is the real world. If they give you an idea about the world and you consume it and believe in it, they know that that's the world that's eventually going to manifest. That's the world. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why I don't let anybody put, I'm very mindful of who I allow to put ideas into my mind, because my mind is the real world. This ain't the real world. You might be saying, man, you crazy. Well, that's your opinion. But this physical world is the old world. It's not the real world. The real world is the world of imagination, the world of thoughts, the world of emotions, the world of ideas. So you got to get very, very good, really good at holding ideas in your mind that represent the reality that you want to live in every version of your reality, financially, okay, relationships, travel, the home you live in. Get really, really, really good at it. Get really good at imagining things you want to attract or experience. Get really good at just internalizing it. And no matter what shows up in your physical reality, see that as evidence. Become delusional and see that as evidence that you are in alignment with the thing that you say you want through imagination. And you'll start to have it. You'll start to have it more and more and more every single day. Because it never ends. You never get to a point where you're like, all right, I created everything I want. The only time it ends is when it ends, when you're no longer on the earth. But you're always going to be creating, and you always got to remain in control of your mind. The number one thing for me is to remain in control of my mind. I can't let anybody do my thinking for me. Got to think for myself. I got to control my own mind. That's just the way it is. That's how I live. So your mind, okay, is the real world. First off, you need to remind yourself of that on a daily basis. And you know this because whatever's in your mind is what you believe. You believe everything that's in your mind. Why do you naturally believe everything that's in your mind? Because your mind is the real world. You intuitively know this, but you're not conscious of it. You intuitively know that your mind is the real world, but you're not consciously aware of the fact that your mind is the real world. But now you're being reminded of that. Okay? Now you know. And now that you know, subscribe to the damn YouTube channel. Share it with somebody that deserves to hear it. And look below this video for resources that can help you out.